On today's Chasing Rainbows, the author interviews, I'm going to be interviewing my good friend Ann Reid, so stay tuned. Everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Chasing Rainbows. I'm your host, Rachelle Van Ryssen, and I'd like to introduce my wonderful friend and guest, Ann Reid. Ann is an educator here in Simcoe, Ontario. Hi, Ann. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Rachelle. Thank you so much for having me on the show today, and I'm very excited to share my story.
Yeah, you have a very powerful story. So that's one of the things about this book is people who've read it, they've loved all of the stories, but there are a couple of them that have really, really stood out, and yours is one of those stories. So, and your story's, it's pretty, nail on head fit. Like, it just fits perfectly in this, which, let's start off with, would you tell us what you do?
So I am a teacher, kindergarten teacher at Lindo Heights Public School in Simcoe, Ontario. Right. And my retirement date just passed a year and a bit ago, but I don't feel ready. I still love what I do. Yeah. I'm married to Jonathan, have 3 kids that are all in their early 20s and in school. Right,
young adults.
Yes, young adults.
Right? I'm not allowed to call mine kids anymore. So, and
as my husband says, our adult children.
Yes, exactly. Right. Yes. Our adult children are no longer. They're the same. They're in the same age group.
That's right.
Which is truly, a miracle that people as young as us could even have children that age, weren't they? So, Ann, when I asked you, I recall asking you to write a chapter in this book. At first, you were kind of nervous. You didn't really know where to go with it, and I remember thinking that you would write about a certain topic, and this is the one thing. This is a line that has gone all the way through all of the interviews. Is that I expected one thing, but God raised something else up in each and every one of you, right?
That's right.
So, what do you think the story was that I was expecting?
So, well, I have a couple of. We all have storms in our lives, right?
Yeah.
But I'd say I'd have had 3 very significant ones in my life, and I actually had written a chapter, and it was about my daughter who nearly passed away when she was 5, and it was on my due date with our youngest son, and I let a friend read it, and she said, "Oh, I liked it, but it's not what I thought you were going to write about." And then my brother was tragically killed when he was 19. So I wrote a chapter on that. And my friend said, "That's great, but I didn't think that was the chapter you're going to write about." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And she said, "Well, I thought you were going to write about your experience on Lake Erie." Right. And that hadn't even dawned on me. I said, "Oh." So then I sat down, I wrote that chapter, and then I knew it was the right one. And how did I know? It's a literal storm, a literal rainbow in the story.
Exactly.
But it was the one that spoke to me and the one that God said, "This is it."
Yeah. And it's such a powerful story. I've known you for several years. You live with a hearing.
Yes, I'm hard of hearing in both ears, and I lip read, so I'm lip reading right now.
Right. Mm-hmm. Which has to be difficult because I'm, French Canadian, so I don't have big lips, and we speak quickly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I grew up with a Scottish father, so you got that accent in there as well. So,
do accents show up in lips?
A little bit. Yes.
I've never really thought of that before. It's interesting. Yeah. So how does that affect you working with kindergarten kids? I mean, from my perspective, I would think that would make it
Yes.
easier some days,
Yes.
but harder too.
It's not too bad. During the pandemic, it was really hard because everybody was masked, and I rely on lip reading. So I was mentally exhausted when I came home from work every day, just from straining to hear.
Right.
But sometimes I turn the aids down a little if it gets loud. I have and that's the nice thing. I'll be in a movie theater and I'll just be like, oh, they're eating popcorn behind me. That's really loud. So I can adjust the volume of my world. You know how you adjust the radio?
Yeah.
It's nice to be able to adjust the volume in your world.
That's interesting that you're saying that. My husband, is at the hearing place today, having his hearing aids turned down because they're just picking up everything.
Yes.
And I jokingly said to him, I said, "You're just trying to make me more accessible." He swears that's not it, but yeah, you know, we've been married 30 years this year, so.
Oh, congratulations.
So maybe that's part of it. He can just turn me down when he needs to. And you wouldn't do that to your John.
No,
we both have Johns.
Never.
So, you know, when I was putting this book together, I was looking for someone, you know, to help me out with editing. Well, who better than you? I mean, you're an educator. You have a degree in English?
No, my degree is actually in child studies and psychology.
Okay.
But my mom was an English Latin teacher.
That's what it is. Yeah.
So she used to perfect things and just.
You have a knack
And it's funny because someone will say, I'll say Toronto.
Yeah.
And other people say Toronto.
Yeah.
So it's just,
yeah.
I catch myself a lot just because she, you know, had that knack.
Yeah.
And somehow passed that on to me.
Well, that's perfect because and you helped immensely with this this book and I think, you know, we're looking forward to working together again on the
future.
The purple version of this, the one that's coming up next. Yeah, it's been such an amazing process, and being able to share this with so many different women and with such amazing stories, you know. And I knew your brother Colin very well. I know David, your other brother. So I was connected to your family for a long time before I actually even met you. So you know, it's all kind of come around full circle. It's and our children have, you know, grown up together in ways. And
I taught your
you taught both of them. Yeah, that's. Oh my goodness! A little while ago, since I stood outside of the school, you know, watching them get off the bus and making sure they went in.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Okay, we're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come back, and I'm going to talk a little bit with Ann about her chapter.
Your place looks incredible.
The house was our canvas. Leon's was our brush.
Wait, this is all from Leon's?
Every stylish piece, priced less.
Did you say priceless or priceless?
Priceless.
Oh, priced less. Price less.
Priceless.
Priceless.
Leon's. Priceless style. Priced less.
Could I interest you in some charcuterie?
Charcuterie.
Welcome back, everyone, to Chasing Rainbows, the author interviews. I'm really happy to have my friend Ann here with me today, and we're going to go a little bit more into the synopsis of your chapter. And your chapter name?
It's called The Eye of the Storm.
The Eye of the Storm. And Ann, I'm just going to let you tell the story.
All right. So it was June 28th, 2014, 9 years ago.
Wow.
And the end of the school year, my husband's a teacher, and the three kids, adult children, they were children then.
Yeah.
I think they were 14, 12, and 9, so just a rough idea of their ages. And my brother has a boat, and he lives in Toronto, just a little 17-foot bow rider, and he said, I'm going to bring it down to Turkey Point, which is on Lake Erie, and about half an hour from Simcoe.
Right.
And so I said, oh, that sounds great. He said, come meet me at the marina. So we hopped in the car and drove down to the marina, helped him load his boat into the water, and one of his best friends, Irving, was with us. And so there was 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 5 plus 2.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it. And we...
A lot on a small boat.
Yeah, a lot on a small boat.
A lot on a small boat.
So we hopped on board and we left. It was a beautiful, sunny, clear day. We drove the boat to Pottahawk Island, which is just an island kind of between Long Point, which
Right.
is where we were headed,
Yeah.
and Turkey Point. And we
And
stopped.
the people in this area kind of know Pottahawk
Yeah.
as kind of a party island
Yes.
every summer where hundreds of boats gather around it.
Yes,
And,
I think that's July usually. I
Yeah.
can't remember.
Yeah.
So we went there and we bumped into another. Actually, I taught their children, other boaters, and they lent us their little rubber raft, and we went around. It was great. And then we thought, okay, we're going to go to Long Point. The reason we were going to Long Point was my brother was always envious when I was in high school.
Right.
We took a trip with our geography class, Mr. Lee, to the tip of, do you remember Mr. Lee?
Oh, he was great.
He was lovely. So we took a boat, like you can only get to the tip of Long Point by boat.
Yeah.
And my brother just said all that. And we camped there, I think, for 2 nights. So it was great.
Right.
And he had always wanted to do that. So, and you can only reach the Long Point by boat.
Right,
So
yeah.
the longest distance in
And
the
it's
world.
yes.
I think it's 40 kilometers
Right,
long.
yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, we headed to Long Point, got there. It's a beautiful place. Have you been to the tip?
Yeah.
You have? Okay. Yeah.
I grew up in St. Williams, and my
Oh.
dad was the fisherman. So
Okay, so you've been,
we've-
it's a little bit of a
yeah,
paradise.
it's amazing, and the birds and
Yes.
everything out there. It's
So the thing with Long Point is there are a lot of sandbars,
right.
and my brother, I mean, this is a little boat. He didn't have any technology to say where they were. He was the markers weren't fitting off with where he thought they
Right.
were, but the water was clear so he could see them. There was one point that we banged into one and the motor cut out, and
Right.
then it just caught on again. And so we meandered, we got there, got off, we hiked. It was probably about half a kilometer, like from where we docked to the very tip.
Right.
And lots of birds. There's a lighthouse at the end. There's an old bird observatory. It's really neat to stand on the end of the point and you have 1 foot on one side and one the other, and the actual temperature of the water
It's
is
different. Yeah,
because
yeah.
one is the deep bay side and one
Right.
is the beach side, where people
And even
camp.
even at times you can see more waves on one side than the other.
Yes.
It'll look, one side will be calm, and the other
Yes.
side it's
Yes.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and the gulls there are,
Yeah.
they're not seagulls. My
Nope.
nature friend said they're called gulls.
They're
I said,
gulls.
Okay. They're all
Lake
over.
gulls.
Yes, yes. So we were just having such a great time exploring, and we heard a rumble. We thought it was one of the boats. And then we heard it again and we thought, that's odd. So we started walking back, and there were a bunch of boats that had docked, and people were doing the same thing as us, exploring the point. And one of the people on one of the boats said, I think that's thunder. So my brother and I are like, well, do we stay or do we go? Should we stay or should we go? So we decided, we asked a couple boaters, some were staying, some were going.
Yeah.
There was a big boat just leaving, and we thought, well, let's just follow them out. So the thing with where we are, because there's so many sandbars, you can't actually stay close to land.
Right.
You have to drive
Out.
straight
Yeah.
out into the open water. So we were following this big boat out, and then we heard the rumble again. I remember looking up, and you saw these green, black tinged clouds.
Yeah.
Just, I can't even explain it, just coming towards us. And in my head, I'm like,
So
okay,
ominous,
let's just,
you know,
it
you
was
just
eerie.
feel it. Hence
I
the name of
can't-
that,
yeah,
you know.
hence the name.
Right?
It was.
Yeah.
And
Storms come up
started-
so quickly on Lake Erie, and it's, you know, it's
it's
because
they
of the,
call it a giant bathtub.
Right.
Because it's so shallow.
Right.
And I think it's the most in the world freshwater per square mile
Right.
wreckages.
Right,
Like
right.
there's so many. It's like
Yeah.
a big bathtub. So anyway, so this clouds started coming, and I'm like looking up, going, oh, I don't know if we're gonna. And then this boat just took off in front of us. So here we are, 7 of us in this little 17-foot bow rider, And all of a sudden, the wind started howling.
Yeah.
The waves started coming up. The kids had their life jackets on. We did put them on at that moment.
Yeah.
It was dark. Like, it was like
Yes.
dark. I just black. The howling of the wind, the waves were, it was like we were at the back of the boat. I was near the stern. My husband was near the bow. And it was just like a whirlpool behind us.
Right.
When you looked towards the boat, so if you were at the front of the boat, all you saw were 12-foot gray walls of water, if that makes any sense, on either side. You're just staring at these walls, wondering why they weren't getting into the boat. Everything was getting drenched. It was cold, so I had Evan, our youngest, on my lap, and he was
And your
just
brother
blue.
had the presence of mind to keep the nose of the boat
did.
straight into the waves. Because
Straight in the waves.
if you go even the slightest bit sideways with
Yes.
a wave that big, you'll flip
Yeah.
over. So I mean,
Yeah, he just kept driving like one.
it's really quite miraculous that he
It's
was
incredible.
able to.
And we didn't have a radio, so we couldn't radio for
Right,
help.
yeah.
We just, that's what he did. At one point he turned to look at me and our eyes kind of locked.
Right.
And I was just trying to smile and remain calm, although the inside I was the fury, panicking.
Yeah.
And his hat actually blew off, so and his glasses, so he couldn't see.
Right.
He just could feel, his hat. And so anyway, and he just kept driving, into the waves. And at one point, I was like, even with life jackets, if we go off, we're not going to make it.
Goodness.
And I was panicking, thinking, okay, if we go off, my parents are going to lose their entire family. They'd already lost their son.
Right.
Everybody. These are the things that are going through your head.
Right.
If the boat tips, what am I going to do? I'm strategizing.
Right. Who
And trying to
grabs what
figure out
child,
what to do.
who-
But we were all calm.
Yeah.
Talk about the eye of a storm.
Right.
The eye is the calm part.
Right.
We were.
You had
in
that
boat. We weren't
emotional
screaming,
eye of
running
the
around.
storm, right?
We were, the boat was filling up with water. We have no video, photo, everything was wrecked that day. But I remember stopping for a moment, and our son.
I'm going to stop you right there because this is a great place to start again.
Okay.
So we're going to go to break and we'll be right back.
Your place looks incredible.
The house was our canvas. Leon's was our brush.
Wait, this is all from Leon's?
Every stylish piece, priced less.
Did you say priceless or priced less?
Priceless.
Priced less. Price less.
Priceless.
Priceless.
Leon's. Priceless style. Priced less.
Could I interest you in some charcuterie?
Charcuterie.
Welcome back, everyone. So I took us away right at a really great part of this story because I thought, cliffhanger, awesome,
Yes.
right? So at this moment, Callum
Okay.
has a moment with you,
Yes.
and I want you to.
So my
kind of
husband was at the front of the boat, straddling it, just trying to keep it balanced. And I remember looking, and then I looked down, and Callum was actually in this little hutch part. So my brother was driving
And,
on the floor.
How old was Callum at that time?
He would have been 10
Okay, so we've got
or
a 10.
12.
Okay, so we have
Yeah.
a young man, a 12-year-old boy.
12-year-old boy,
Yeah.
praying.
Praying.
It just took my breath away because here I am in the storm. The first thing to do is you're trying to figure out how you're going to save yourself and how you're going to save your family. And then I looked at him and I'm like, he's doing what I need to be doing right now.
Right.
So I prayed.
Yeah.
I prayed.
Yeah.
I had my eyes closed.
You know, it's amazing how we teach our children these things,
Yeah.
and really it comes back to
Yeah.
us. They teach us right back.
Yeah,
don't
they do.
You know, that's such a beautiful picture just to see your effort
Yes.
paying off in such a beautiful way. You know, and I'm sure that because he was
Yeah.
praying and you were
Well,
praying.
I have to tell you the funny part. So my eyes were closed.
Right.
I'm like, okay. And I was praying and just asking God for more time with our family. I wasn't ready to go live with him yet. I just was. Anyway, I opened my eyes. Oh, and it got worse. All of it. And I opened my eyes, and it's like God's fireworks everywhere.
Right.
Shooting lightning bolts all around the boat.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're going to be vaporized.
Yeah.
But we weren't.
And that's the thing about God. That's like, he doesn't tell us that we're not going to go through storms. He tells us he will be with us through them.
Yeah.
Right?
The wind was so strong, I forgot to mention it, it blew the whole canvas tarp right off the pole. Like, that's how strong the wind was. If you go on to Google Lake Erie waves, you'll get an idea. We have a local photographer.
Yeah.
And he's incredible with the waves. He actually goes in the waves and takes pictures of them, but you can get an idea of the dynamics of the wave versus the boat. Anyway, prayed, and the wind started to die down a little. The lightning bolts, the fireworks stopped, started to get a little bit lighter, and the clouds started to dissipate. And the most incredible part was, we didn't have a compass, anything. We didn't know where we were. We were going in the right direction all along.
Yeah.
It's like God setting your path straight when you can't even see it.
Yeah.
He
goes before
headed
us, right?
to Turkey Point. We didn't even know. My brother was just riding each wave. He didn't know. We didn't know where. And we're like, oh my goodness, there we are. And I think the thing that really got to me was there was a rainbow.
Right. You'd been chasing rainbows the whole time.
And it's probably the most beautiful rainbow I'll ever see in my life. And I've seen some beautiful ones, but I think having this story and just what happened, and then just seeing God's promise in front of me.
Yeah.
And just like, I will carry you
and he was
through
there
the storm.
the whole time.
I'm there. I'm there with you through the storms. And that's the big thing in life. You're going to have short storms. You're going to have long storms. I just am going to a visitation tomorrow for someone that lost their struggle with mental health. Like, there's so many storms and supporting their family, but God is there with you. Even when you can't, you think he's not there, when you can't see him, when you can't see where you're going, he's there.
He's there. That's one of my favorite verses in the Bible. It's so short, and it's just, lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of time.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm able to, if you can learn enough about the Bible, you don't have to learn the whole thing, backwards and forwards, but if you can learn enough verses to remind yourself that God is walking with you, because as Christians, we're not, safe from anything other than, what regular people have happened to them. So I think it says in the Bible that the rain falls on the just and the unjust evenly. So it's, we live here in a broken world, so we're going to have these things, but it's such a blessing to know.
God's your anchor.
God is our anchor
He's
in
our
the
rock.
storm, right?
Yeah. And sometimes we'll drift away, but he pulls you back.
Always, always pulls us back. And sometimes it's by allowing another storm.
Yeah.
Right? And I've now gotten to the point, and we talk about that, is finding beauty in life's storms, is that once you start to find the beauty in the storms, you become, you seek it. You seek him, right? In all things, in the good times and in the really difficult times. And I love that I love that I've met you. I love that, you're part of my life. And God had a plan, and he knew about your storm long before it happened, and that you would be able to share it with all these people. One of the things that I want to mention about your chapter is it's so in depth, and you're giving the gist of it today, but
there's so much more to it.
There's so much more to it. There's such beauty in the entire story that it would be a shame if people didn't get the book. You can go on Amazon, and you can if you have the Prime, you can read it for free. Right?
Yes.
So do that. I'm not trying to make the money. I just want people to read these stories. They're amazing stories, and I love that you shared them with me. Would you consider writing a book? I mean, it's almost as though you're writing down. You prepared 2 chapters.
Yes.
For this book.
It's funny when I with my friends, they often tell me I'm the funny one. The stories they said, Ann, you've got to write these, especially teaching.
Right.
The lessons and things I've learned in my profession for 30 years. So it's in the back of my mind.
Right. I mean,
Yes.
maybe that's your retirement thing.
Yes, maybe.
Something to do in retirement. And
Yes.
not that I'm sure you would come up with a bunch of things. But yeah. So I'm sure our listeners would like to know, have you set foot on another boat?
I have to think about that. I kayaked with a friend.
Okay.
Last Big Creek.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
it's beautiful
awesome.
all the way to
Ontario
Long
Amazon.
Point.
Oh, see?
Yeah, but non-motorized boat, no waves,
Yeah.
but lots of portaging and
Yeah.
I call it the Amazon of
Yeah,
Ontario.
that's what they call it, is Ontario's
beautiful-
Amazon.
Yes, yes.
And yeah, that's
Yes.
an area I grew up in
Yes.
too. It's
And I'm
beautiful
going to
down
the Dominican in a few weeks with
See?
2 of my colleague friends, so we're hoping maybe to go on a catamaran. So yeah, I have the faith, and it's just, I don't think I'd go on a boat again without a radio on Lake Erie.
Yeah. So-
And I think if I heard a rumble next time, I would pay attention
Immediately.
to that. Yes,
Immediately.
yes.
So, and saying that, is there
Yes.
life lessons? Like, obviously, there's these
Yes.
life lessons about boating,
Yes.
maybe having the life jackets on from the beginning and
Yes.
things like that. But what would you say? Do you have a life lesson that you really took from this?
Took from me.
from that?
Well, I talked about the anchor.
Right.
Talked about standing on that rock and having that faith there.
Yeah.
I think the eye of the storm,
Right.
sometimes just remaining calm and in Him
Yeah.
when your life feels like there's
and
this.
Calum, like being realizing that it's this is what I took from your
Yes.
story is go to God first.
Yes.
Thank you, Ann, for coming on and
Thank you for
talking
having
to
me.
us. Thank you. And you are one amazing person. Thank you, all the viewers, for tuning in to Chasing Rainbows.
Thank you.
And remember, life may throw storms at you, but there is always a rainbow to chase. Thank you again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Chasing Rainbows, the author interviews.